So hopefully you're in the right place. This is a discussion on the value of certifications to your enterprise strategy. We'll be talking a little bit about how certifications help the individual, but mostly we'll be talking about how they can help your company and how you can use them to gain benefits for your company. My name is Andre Zoot. I'm a solution architect with AWS. Now, most solution architects at AWS are assigned to a customer or perhaps an industry. I'm one of the exceptions. I'm associated with the certification team within AWS. Those are the people that create and maintain the certification exams. So when I'm not having fun here at re:Invent, my day-to-day job is typically looking at the exams and making sure the questions on them are accurate and fair as possible. And I'm joined here today with Augusto Strasieri. And Augusto is a customer at Itaú Bank. And Augusto, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hello, everyone. I'm Augusto Strasieri, executive responsible for upskilling and certification program at Itaú. I truly believe the best way to empower people is through the transfer knowledge. And today we will share a little part of our digital transformation journey.
Thank you, Augusto. So in the United States, last week we had the holiday of Thanksgiving, and it usually is a time for people to get together with family and friends, perhaps eat a little too much, but we also catch up in each other's lives and see what everyone else is doing. Now, my family knows about re:Invent because I've been talking about it for years, but it's still kind of confusing to them because I describe re:Invent as this giant, loud, exciting party in Las Vegas with lots of people, lots of new things, opportunities to try stuff out. And they look at me and they say, but Andre, you're not really a loud party in Las Vegas kind of guy. And 360 days out of the year there, right? But for re:Invent, I love it. It's amazing. I can be an introvert when I go back home, but for right now, it's enjoyable to just, bask in all of the stuff that's happening here. So here's a quick agenda. The middle part is the most interesting because that's when we're going to hear from Augusto. So I'd love to see a show of hands. How many people have had projects in their company this year that they couldn't complete because they didn't have the right IT staff? Anyone out there that had that problem? Definitely some hands. So, what happens if your project is delayed by 6 months? What does that do to your revenue? What does that do to your customer satisfaction? Does that give your competition opportunities to disrupt your industry? These are some of the benefits that we see for businesses to have certifications. I'm going to talk through a couple of examples. Say you're a company that has a great security team. Your security team has already implemented AWS best practices. They have least privilege access in their IAM policies. They encrypt their data in transit at rest. They have short-term credentials, and they manage them well. That sort of a company is going to face less problems if they have to get into a new line of business that has regulatory requirements around security, just because their security is also already pretty good. So much faster entry into new areas if you already are at that level. Another example, machine learning and AI. We have plenty of projects within our group where we're using these services, and one thing that we've noticed is that my timeframes to deliver on these projects are days and weeks. They're not months and years. That doesn't leave a lot of time for on-job training. We expect people to have a certain baseline of skills to be able to be useful for these projects. There's always a little upskilling, but we can't train them fresh. And I've heard from customers that other people have experienced similar situations. Now, you probably have experts in your company on AWS. They know every service that you use today, but they might not be that knowledgeable on the services you don't use yet. And if you acquire a new company from a merger, if you move into a new line of business, they're not going to be experts that they normally would be. Now, certifications give you a baseline understanding across the board of all the services used by that particular role. So even though they're not experts on new things that you're using, they will at least know about them and be able to direct you when you're to use them. Now, this slide shows a lot of what's valuable for the customer, but I believe that when you provide value to your employees, that translates to value to the business. Training leads to retaining. People tend to stay at companies that support their careers and their knowledge increase. Competitive edge is measured by many things. You don't normally associate competitive edge with training, but a lot of the statistics that I presented today and that I've seen on the as well relate that people that are trained better are going to give you a competitive edge to your competition. So what are AWS certifications? For those of you that are unaware, a certification is essentially an exam. You take the exam either at a testing center or with online proctoring, and then at the end of the session, you've either passed that and you hold the certification, or you didn't pass it and you need to study more and take it again. That's how our exams work. An exam is good for 3 years, active. The icons listed here show the various certification exams that we currently offer. Now, I'm going to go through the tiers of these. There's 4 tiers. The top two, the top tier is the foundational exams. You'll see that in the upper middle section here in gray icons. A foundational exam, think of it as a foundation of a house. It's something you often build upon. Now, if you're a manager and you don't need to do hands-on technical work, if you're a leader within your company, if you work in the HR department and you just need to speak the language, that might be the only certification you need. You might not need to go beyond that. However, if you're on a technical path, that won't be enough. On a technical path, that might be a starting point that you use to get a more technical certification. So if you look at the 5 certifications in the blue icons on the right, those are our associate level. We recommend about a year of experience to be comfortable taking an associate certification. That's a year of experience using the roles that the certification covers. Now, we don't check you and see if you've done a year of experience. We just tell you what most people like. You know, your individual mileage can vary depending on how much you use the services. If you want to differentiate yourself from people with associate certifications, what most people do is choose the professional certifications. The professional certifications are significantly more complex and take more time to study for. We recommend that someone have about 2 years of experience to be successful with those. Those are in the blue-green icons to the middle lower. And then at the very bottom on the purple icons are the specialty certifications. So a specialty is something that you dive very deep into a very narrow topic. So think narrow but deep. So you might be a solution architect, but you also know security very well. You might get the solution architect certification, but then you might add the specialty security certification to it just to demonstrate your knowledge in that field as well. So what themes did you see so far in reInvent? Shout out, what are some of the main themes that you're seeing at reInvent this year? AI. Any others? I mean, I wasn't even out of the airport, and I knew that the themes were AI, right? All the advertisement in the airport was AI. Now, here's the interesting thing to me. Machine learning and AI, very important this year at reInvent. It was very important at reInvent last year, a little bit the year before that. So this is a pervasive technology. I've never seen a reInvent that had such a focus between 2 separate years. So the AI and ML stuff is really on everyone's mind. A question I get a lot is an explanation of what the different ML AI certifications we offer, how they fit into different roles. Again, AI practitioner helps you speak the language of AI. You're probably not doing a lot of the work yourself, but you're interfacing with people that are setting up your models and training them and doing things like that. Then beyond that is the machine learning engineer. The machine learning engineer might be training models. They might be training them, they might be running them on endpoints, They might be operationalizing a pipeline so that those models retrain if they are not accurate anymore. That's the job of the associate level. And then beyond that is a certification we've just recently released. That is the Generative AI Developer. And this is a really exciting one to me. This is a certification for people that are writing the agents and applications that are used to do the AI work. So they're developers usually. They usually are experts in RAG architecture. They're experts in embedding and vectorizing databases. Now, when we test you on that, we don't test actual programming knowledge, but we test programming concepts in that certification. Now, notice that that one's beta. So a beta certification means we just announced it, we just released it, and we have not yet collected statistics that we would normally use on our exams. So in a beta certification, you have a few more questions you have to answer, 85 total. You get a little more time to answer it, total of 210 minutes, and it's half price. So my grandmother, she would have said it's a great value, because you're getting more questions and the cost is less. Okay, Augusto, I would love for you to tell us about Itaú Bank and their work here.
Thank you, André. Hi, guys. Let me introduce Itaú Unibanco. Itaú is a 101 years history in transformation during the market. We have more than 74 billion market value. We are the largest bank in Brazil and the most valuable company in South America. Our digital transformation started in 2018, and we are running our operations in 18 countries, including USA. As a retail banking, we run our operations across the South America. Here, as I said, we started our digital transformation journey in 2018, and we defined 4 main pillars to drive our strategy. Is design, digital products, technology, and data. These 4 main pillars help us to increase our velocity, our time to market, reduce our incidents, increasing our quality, and delivering a best experience for our customers, reducing our cost. So we define these main pillars, and these main pillars help us to achieve the business goal. Our purpose is serve our customer very well and keeping evolving in sustainability. So here I will share with you business information, business goals, what we achieved with digital transformation program. And I really believe good teams, good results. Mm-hmm. So we can reduce our incidents in 99%. We increase our speed in more than 2,000% and reduce our unit cost in more than 45%. This number is so important, but behind that, we have the experience that we are delivering for our customers in creating a culture of collaboration with our teams.
Augusto, what role did certifications play in this modernization journey?
André, for us in Itaú, certification is much more than pass an exam. Mm-hmm. Because certification and the transfer knowledge process help us to create a new culture. And that culture helps to provide an environment that the team can achieve that goals by innovation, by collaboration. And we really believe the upskill process is not easy because every single day we have new technologies, new perspectives, and the team need to learn all the time. So create a strategy to help the teams during this process is so important. Mm-hmm. And we create this process, and we are totally aligned with the process, with the business goals. Because when I started my career, I remember the people said, velocity, quality, and cost. You need to choose two. Or velocity and cost, or quality and velocity, you need to choose. But now, with the digital transformation journey, we are living in a different world. It's not our world, or velocity, or quality, or cost. We are living in the end world. We need to deliver softwares with quality and velocity and cost and efficiency. So it's so important for us follow this new mindset. And here I will share the numbers of certifications and the employees already certified. We have more than 5,000 employees already certified and 7,000 certifications in the bank. So you understand the size of the company. Itaú has more than 93,000 employees, 15,000 in IT. We have 15,000 software engineers creating solutions for our customers every single day. And our strategy run across all the company, from the beginners to the experts. So as you can see, we have a lot of practitioner certificated, associate, professional, and specialty. That's the way that we believe to increase new features, new products, and new a best experience for our customer. And after that, the bank starts to play another kind of game. Could you imagine that Itaú is the largest iPhone seller in Brazil? Why? Because we understand the customer need with data, with all the other information, and we create products to attend the customer needs.
So people here who would love to see numbers like this for their company, what would you recommend they do in order to duplicate the success that Itaú has had?
Okay, I bring some takeaways. It's so important to define OKRs, KPIs, metrics, goals to support your journey. And it's also important that OKR are tied with the business objective. Because not a certification by certification is not tech for tech. You need to create strategy to increase the maturity of the business. We create internal mentorship. We have more than 140 experts helping the beginners during the journey. So we have a very important collaboration process into the banking, and that's the reason why the number of certification scale a lot. We have recognition. This word is very hard to Portuguese speakers. Recognition, it's so important point. We create upgrade awards. Once a year, we recognize the engineers that perform in the best way during the certification and upskill journey. That's so important. But also important, take care of the disability people. So we can change the culture if all the people are included during the process. So we have a special attention for people with disability. I believe, André, this is the main takeaways. And now I will share a little part of our Itaú AWS Wiki. We will stop all the company, all the IT area, 1 week a year to make sessions, interactions. We had in this AWS Wiki 45 sessions, executive panels, keynotes, women in tech, and inclusion panel. And we invite the certification team to run the exams into the bank. In 3 days, we achieved more than 300 certifications into the bank. It's very nice, and we have a huge pride about this journey. And it's only possible because we work very together to AWS team, and we are increasing our maturity day by day. Mm-hmm. That's it, André.
Thank you very much. The thing I love about his description of this is it sounds like a giant party. I mean, I would want to work for a company that's doing this. I would want to work for a company that's, recognizing my certifications, recognizing my growth, and supporting it. And that's a theme we'll talk a little more about. Here's a quote from George Brady at Cap One. I thought that was pretty powerful, and it echoes a lot of what Augusto said. So how do you do it? How can you help set up a situation like this, and what do you use it for? Good employees are expensive. We recommend that you try to not only find new good employees, but a key theme for this is keep the good employees you already have. And one way to get the new employees in, I'm not saying that certifications are a panacea for hiring. I would hire someone based on an interview, but I might decide who I interview based off things like certifications. Certifications can be a way for screening your interviews. Most companies have some sort of a screening process because they have too many people applying, but essentially, using the certifications tells you that that person has at least demonstrated some level of aptitude on a technology. And then you verify it in the interview. That allows you to phrase your questions in the interview with the expectations that you now have based on their supposed knowledge. So, if they come in as a solution architect professional, I'm going to ask a different level of questions than if they come in as a cloud practitioner. So hopefully you make the offer, they accept it, and they join your company. The journey or the use of certifications is not over there, not over at that point. When someone is hired, inevitably they don't have all the skills you need. Hopefully they have a lot of them, but they don't have them all. And certifications can help you verify when you've trained them to the levels that you need. I know at AWS, when we hire in technical roles, we ideally bring in people that have some certifications associated with that role, and then we create an onboarding plan for the next half a year, where we expect people to develop the training necessary to pass the other certifications that are important for their role. It's a good way to use it to again, validate how well your training is working. You're paying for a certain amount of training. You want to see the bang you're getting for your buck, and a certification is a good way of doing that. So how many people work for a company that gives you something when you pass a certification? Does anyone work for a company that provides some sort of a benefit to you when you pass a certification? There's definitely some out there, and I think that's such easy money, because you're not paying that much, and the company is getting a tremendous value back for the extra knowledge that you have. I have a friend who I worked with for quite a while. He was a network engineer, and he was passing a network vendor certification, and he was late to work. And his manager didn't care that he was doing something important that would benefit the company. His manager just cared that he was a few minutes late. He was early in his career, so such things were watched. And he didn't stay with that company very long. And the next company he went to rewarded him with a gift card when he got his certifications. So to a local restaurant, he would get a meal when he passed a cert. And again, that's such easy money for the company. They benefited tremendously. So performance goes up when you're when you have certifications, And we recommend that people be able to take on new responsibilities. People have studied hard for these certs, and they expect to be able to use the technology that they've learned. So hopefully you can open up opportunities for them to do things within the company that they hadn't done in the past. And then mentoring. I loved hearing Augusto talk about the mentoring program that they set up. How do you learn? You learn a technology, and a good way to build on that learning and to validate it is to teach it to someone else. If I can teach someone else something, I know it really well. So mentoring is not just good for the people that are being mentored, but it's also good for the people that are mentoring. So another question I've heard a lot, even so far at reInvent, I know it's only the second day, but we have a new thing called micro-credentials. This is, they're slightly different from those 12 certifications I showed you. Remember, the certifications are a test that you take. Micro-credentials, I like the names on this. It says serverless demonstrated, agentic AI demonstrated. The demonstrated part is key, because instead of taking a test for micro-credentials, what you do is you get onto Skill Builder and you launch the micro-credential, and then you have to do something. It creates some resources for you on an AWS console and gives you instructions for things you have to fix. It'll say, this isn't working right, fix it. If this is only halfway done, complete it. And it then gives you in the console to make those actions, but it doesn't give you hints. It tells you if you got it working or not, but it doesn't hold your hand. So you really have to demonstrate the knowledge in order to get that micro-credential. And once you pass it, it's time limit as well, but once you pass it, if you pass it, you can then link it to your Credly account and put it on your LinkedIn profile, just like you do your other AWS certifications. These tend to be very focused. So again, serverless demonstrated is focused very clearly on serverless and not a whole lot else. So useful for companies that don't want to do the whole certification, but still like that part of the journey. Okay, how do you implement this? How do you implement something similar to what Augusto has done with Itaú Bank? I believe the first step for most projects is a budget. Now, the budget you're going to have to plan is for the certification exams themselves. It's also for any incentives that you give the employees as they pass the exams. And then time. Ideally, you support your employees by saying, hey, we're blocking off 2 hours a week a couple times for you to study, for you to practice. Now, when you're talking about the exams, purchasing the exams, if you have 100 employees and they all purchase exams and they all submit expense reports for them, that can be kind of a hassle. We also sell exams in voucher bundles. So you can buy a bundle of exams, get a discount from them, and then those exam uses can be assigned to employees with an expiration date. And the expiration date actually works in your favor. I've seen many people who studied for exams and are just afraid to do that last step and take the exam because they think to themselves, I don't know it all. AWS is a big architecture. Nobody knows it all. But it's easy to get stuck there. If you know that your voucher is only good for another month and a half, that gives you a really good incentive to finish up and take the exam. There's a lot less downside to that. Career opportunities. Again, career growth should be part of their certification journey. And if you have people that are in a career that they don't want and they want to move to a career that they do want within your company, it's great to have ways for them to do that. For a long time, I was a systems administrator on on-premise systems, and I moved myself to a solution architect in the cloud. Now, these certs weren't the same when I did this path, but this is still a great way of doing it. Now, there's nothing to say you couldn't just take the solution architect professional and be done with it. But most people are not comfortable with that. It's a fairly complex exam, and most people would want to take steps to get to it. So we recommend take the cloud practitioner first. Once you've got that under your belt, then solution architect associate, and then solution architect professional. Similarly, for a cloud developer, you notice that the middle certification is still the same, but the ones on the side are different. We have a lot of other paths that we can share with you that are appropriate for different roles that might exist within your company. And then you've now given them the budget, you've shown a career progression for them, you need to provide a way for them to get there. On-the-job training, or a hands-on keyboard is always the best way to learn something. I learn something best when I'm building from it. But you can't always do that. So when you don't have work in your company for all these people to do, what we recommend is that you use something like Skill Builder. So Skill Builder is a service we offer, skillbuilder.aws, that's the website. Some of you are probably familiar with it, some of you probably use it already. But it's our platform for learning, and we have two versions of it. There's a free version with over 600 self-paced courses recorded in video that you can use from your laptop whenever you want. And there's a few lab sessions that are also available for free. And then we have a subscription version. The subscription version gives you access to many, many more labs and a few other goodies. Now, the labs, I think, again, are valuable because you're doing something. You're actually making some changes to an actual AWS console, but there's no risk. You can't cause any damage to that console. There's guardrails set up so that it can only do the things that you're trying to do. And then once you're done with the lab, the console, that account is essentially wiped out and goes away. Now, we have labs that are based on gamified approaches. So if you are comfortable with that, those are great. We have labs that are team-based. So you and teammates each have to do certain steps. We have some that are competition, and we have some that are real-life scenarios. So we have different modalities of those depending on how you like to learn. One of the other things I like about Skill Builder is the subscription version of Skill Builder is we have full-length practice exams. Now, there's a lot of other vendors out there that can provide practice exam for the AWS certifications, but none of them are written the same way we write the certifications themselves. Again, that's the team I work in. A question that's written for an exam could go one of either directions. It could go to a certification exam, or it could go to a practice exam. It can't go to both. But my point is, we write the questions the same way as we write the real questions. So it's a useful tool. Now, if you want to use another vendor's practice exams, that's fine. But ours are a really good way of gauging if you're ready to take that exam. A mentorship program. Again, this is usually a pretty easy decision. We have Slack channels within AWS. We use that for instant messaging. And we have Slack channels that are set up specifically for providing help to people that are taking certifications. Usually, the people that already have them provide the insights, and you get that flywheel turning because you've got the people that now are experts helping the people that are not experts to become experts, and kind of a critical mass of learning, which is fantastic. So you're here at reInvent. We've got a lot of booths where we would love to have conversations around this or anything related to it. Here's one in the pavilion for the developer community. Feel free to stop by. I will be at the Expo Hall some in the certification area, and I would love any conversations that you would like to have there. During reInvent, there's boot camps and spotlight labs that don't exist anywhere else. So if you have time, take advantage of those. Because you're here in reInvent, you get a 50% off voucher. There was a time when we used to offer testing here on site. We don't do that anymore because we want people to focus on the content here of reInvent. But if you'd like to go home and study for and take a certification exam that you're already considering taking, you can use this voucher for 50% off. And again, your company may reimburse you for your voucher, for your certifications, but save them a little money, can't hurt. So hopefully you've learned some things here that you can take back to your company and help them do a journey similar to how Augusto and Atao Bank has done. It starts with you. Your company decided to send you to reInvent, and they're looking for you to come back with wonderful ideas for them. So feel free to bring us in along the journey. The account teams with AWS can help you with most of the things I've described. So you're not alone in it, but it does take initiative to get it all going. So there will be a place where you can fill out a survey on your application for this session. and would love to hear from you. We'd love to hear what we did right. We'd love to hear what we need to work on, and any of it's great. Enjoy your reInvent, have a wonderful time, and I will wait here. If there's any questions, come on up and we can talk about it until they kick me out of the room. Thank you all.